I don't know whether I should just do a different introduction one day. I feel like I've done the same introduction so many times as that. Now as that's become like a thing. I don't know whether I should keep with that or just go off in a different direction entirely. I don't know.
I'll do my response in Dutch. I've been learning Dutch.
Okay, I was going to ask why, but all right, that answers that. All right, I'll just do the normal one then. Hello and welcome to Generic Drift with me, Harvey Broadhurst, and my good friend Adam Bakewell.
Hello.
Hello, Adam. I thought
That's
you
what
were
they say
going to
in the Netherlands.
Oh, very good.
Thanks.
I didn't know that. I thought that might be an actual introduction. So I like that. That's a good joke. Good little bit you just did there.
Yeah, I'll try.
I would just like to start this podcast and remind people that our lovely podcast is currently available on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, and in fact most of the most popular podcast apps. So if we're not available on your app of choice, do let us know and we will sort that out. Anyway, how have you been this week, Adam? How are you?
I've been okay. I haven't really been doing much, so...
No?
I don't have hobbies like you, hobbies that I'm willing to admit on the internet.
Yeah, and an update on my hobbies. Number one, telescope.
Yeah.
I love my telescope, obviously. But at the moment, we've just had cloudy skies, and we have had cloudy skies for the past few months now. I haven't been able to get my telescope out for weeks. It's really getting me down, actually. But that's not as annoying as my other hobby, an update on the bird feeder that I bought. So I've been topping up the seed sort of every other day. I'm like, how are the blue tits getting through this? Of course, the blue tits weren't getting through this. There's a bloody big pigeon sitting in it. It's designed so that bigger birds don't go in, obviously, but the pigeons have worked it out and they go in and ate all my seed, and that scared all the little birds away, so I'm actually at a bit of a dilemma.
And the fake kestrel isn't working either.
No. Well, I've not seen them for a while. I don't know whether they get put up on days when seagulls are predicted to be bad. I don't know. Is there a seagull forecast?
No, I don't think so. I think they're just up all of the time.
These ones aren't. These ones 100% aren't.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's weird.
Who's being paid to take them down?
I have no idea.
That's a job that does not need doing. Just leave them up.
I don't know whether maybe the wind would batter them too much and they're not built to withstand huge wind speeds or something. I don't know. Maybe
get a new one. It's only a bit of plastic.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Oh, well, so what? I don't know what to do about my pigeon problem.
Is there anything that you don't like? So you may remember you came to my house and we had a spider problem in the bathroom. Not a problem, it was just that time of year.
Oh, yeah.
And you told me to put acorns in there.
Conkers,
to keep the spiders away.
Mm-hmm. Did you do that?
Well, I collected some conkers and then left them on the side in the kitchen where they still are. But the spiders just went because autumn went.
Or maybe the conkers. Maybe the conkers were too close proximity.
Yeah, that could be the truth. So is there a pigeon version of that?
I don't know, actually. I will have to look it up. I don't know whether to just take that feeder, throw it away, and get one that pigeons can't. You know the hanging ones that little birds can hang on to, but pigeons can't?
Yeah, but didn't you say yours was supposed to be specially designed so that pigeons couldn't take stuff out of it? So
yeah,
whoever's selling you the bird feeder is going to lie to you and say that.
That's true. Oh, gosh. And also, if I keep buying, different types of pigeon-proof feeders, I'm essentially just making a challenge for the pigeons to work it out. And so I am training pigeons, a population of pigeons that will eventually have the problem-solving skills of, I don't know, super pigeons. Dear. Oh, well. I'll keep you all updated. If any of our listeners have any ideas for how I can solve the pigeon problem, then please do get in touch. It'd be great. It'd be great to know.
I'm sure somebody will listen out from the pigeon community. So it's been a couple of weeks since we last talked about turtles.
Yes.
I know you're a turtle fan, and they've been back in the news.
Have they?
Yeah. So scientists have discovered that sea turtles can manipulate prey using their flippers.
What do you mean by that?
Well, so they can... Okay, well, there's several things listed. There's leveraging, corralling, holding, digging, and swiping. So, like, the videos I've seen are of turtles digging up pieces of sponge with their flippers. But apparently there's lots of different behaviours that they do with lots of different prey types, mollusks and things.
So was this previously unknown?
Yeah. So
Okay.
the reason it's surprising that a sea turtle can do this is we don't usually think of... Well, we might think of an aquatically adapted species using the forelimbs, but nothing like a reptile doing that. We would think of like otters and not even a dolphin. Like they're sort of, I don't know. It's surprising because like they don't have as developed a frontal cortex.
Yeah, I guess
And-
they're not that sophisticated, are they? They are just
they don't have
like
articulated
fins.
digits,
Yeah,
and also they just get laid on a beach and then left. So they don't have any sort of social learning. Like they're not taught by other sea turtles' parents how to use the fins to manipulate prey. So it's something that we just wouldn't expect for an animal like a turtle to be able to do that.
If you look at a turtle and its flippers, I guess the ends, they look quite flimsy, don't they? They're not very thick. They're not like meaty like our fingers are they?
Yeah, they're sort of tapered.
Yeah, exactly, down to a very fine point. So I guess that's quite interesting. So what you listed a few things that they can do.
Yeah.
What were they again? Can you go through them?
Leveraging.
And so, okay, what's that?
I would guess that leveraging was like holding something down on a coral reef and getting it so that they can get the neck up to it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Corralling. So I guess this would be like something with an arthropod where it would use its flippers to like trap in an arthropod.
Yeah. Like herd it somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Holding. I've already given the example of the sponge sort of. I mean, it's holding in a very loose sense of the word where the water's doing most of the holding for you, but they're using the flippers to like position it. Digging, like with the sponge, and swiping, like with jellyfish. So they'll just swipe jellyfish in the water.
Oh, that's a risky strategy.
Well, it's all right for them, apparently. Very thick skin. I think that when I first read it, I had the same reaction as you. I was like, okay, so turtles can't do that? Like,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I think maybe I'd anthropomorphized turtles a little bit.
Yeah, I'm in my head right now. I'm kind of thinking, let's compare this to tortoises, and I'm thinking of what can a tortoise do with its forelimbs, and I still feel like not very much.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Just walk, basically.
They're very thick, aren't they? Like quite stumpy, almost trunk-like. Their front forelimbs and their back forelimbs, for that matter. So I don't know. I think that is quite interesting. And when you brought up the example of a dolphin as well, yeah, I don't think of a dolphin as being able to use its fin for, its flippers for manipulating objects.
Well, apparently they can a little bit.
Oh, can they? Okay, fine. All right. But I sort of think it's all in the mouth, isn't it? When you're in the sea, it's all about your mouth.
Yeah.
Like your beak or whatever it is.
Yeah, so yeah, if you think about how turtles actually, the process of them eating, it's mainly either suction feeding or like a bite and tear sort of strategy where they'll like tear it from the sea floor or something.
Like you say, I mean, it seems obvious that an animal would use its forelimbs for manipulating.
But that's just anthropomorphized.
Yeah, exactly, because we put so much emphasis on that, don't we?
Think of all the fish.
Yeah.
Think of insects that use the mandibles mainly. Like the legs are just for locomotion. And then they'll have specialized mouth parts. It's actually so much less common than I think we give it credit for because we're so self-centered.
Well, it's not just anthropomorphizing though, is it? Because it's not just humans that do it. Isn't it most mammals?
Yeah, I'd say most. Well, not most mammals. Like think about cats and dogs. They hardly use their forelimbs.
A cat would use its forelimbs to like attack things and hold on to
yeah,
things.
no, that's true. Okay, yeah. Maybe terrestrial mammal centric.
Yeah, primates are obviously the obvious example, but even like carnivores, like
a squirrel.
Cats, yeah, squirrels, and yeah. What about seals? That would be the logical next step. See what seals can do.
Seals can, yeah. Seals do.
Yeah, they do. They clap, don't they? Very famously.
Yeah.
That's not really manipulating things, but
no, but they do. They're on this little phylogeny I've got here, so I know that they're the closest. And Hydrolutris, what's that actually? That's an otter.
Yeah, well, obviously an otter. I was just going to say otters.
Odobensis rosomarsus, that's maybe that's a sea lion.
What is it? Go on, give it to me.
Odobensis rosomarsus.
Rosa is that not the walrus?
Yeah, could be. And then Phoca vitrolina, that's definitely a seal. So, but they do holding and digging.
Okay.
Sea lions and walruses do digging, holding, and leveraging. Like,
right.
So they all have different behaviors that they use. Orcinus orca, striking, tossing.
Yeah, really, with its fins.
Yeah.
Flippers, rather. Yeah, okay. I guess that makes sense. You said that dolphins are capable of it, so I guess it makes sense that orcas would too, being big dolphins.
So yeah, mammal-centric then. Let's amend that to mammal-centric.
Yeah, it's a mammal-centric thing, yeah.
But I thought that was a lovely story.
That was a good story. It is interesting. And also, I think the key takeaway there is I think lots of our listeners will probably feel the same. Oh, really, flippers? But it is a very mammally thing to do.
Yeah.
Just use your front forelimbs to manipulate objects. And
can you think of any example of another animal? Jellyfish use the tentacles. Well, that
doesn't count. That does not count. Those aren't forelimbs.
What about an octopus? It's still like the legs that they use.
They're not forelimbs though, are they? I don't think you would call those.
Well, I think using your limbs is the adaptation.
I think you need to be a tetrapod.
Yeah.
I don't think mollusks would count because they use them completely differently, right? Like it's a completely different body part. Just because we call it a leg or a tentacle, it isn't a leg.
No, I don't. Okay, maybe not for an octopus, but like for an insect, like I can still see that a leg does the same function as a leg in a human. Like it's still used for locomotion. That's why we call what we've got arms.
That is a good point, actually. Insects do seem to have legs.
Well, whereas an octopus does have tentacles.
Yeah.
So that was a bad example. But anything with legs, I think, can do it.
I'm trying to think of a lizard or something that uses its forelimbs, but I can't. They all sort of stick out at the side, don't they? They don't really use them for anything other than moving around.
Yeah, like grabbing a branch.
No, I think it is very mammal-centric. So the humble turtle, yeah, well done to it. Well done to it for doing something the mammals are doing.
Yeah, trend setting. They probably evolved it earlier.
Oh, yeah, that brings up all these questions, doesn't it?
What, you think that we used our social learning brain, spotted a turtle holding a jellyfish and thought, oh, I'm having that.
Yeah, and that kick-started, yeah.
The use of limbs. For manipulating prey.
That's exactly how I think that happened, actually. I thought this week it was quite hard when I was looking for stories. Not because there weren't stories, but because it's a bit of a dangerous week. What with it being at the beginning of April.
Oh, of course, yes.
So I looked at the date on this story, and it wasn't posted on the 1st of April.
Yep.
And I've done a little bit of research, and quite a few other sites have also corroborated this story. They've covered it. And so as far as I can tell, using my own brain power and faculty for critical thinking, this story is true.
Okay.
All right. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
So, researchers at MIT have developed a wearable device that can read your internal voice by reading signals that the brain sends to your face.
Yeah. I saw this story. I believe it. Of course, I don't think that this is beyond what we thought we could do that much.
Well, this is what I wanted to talk about. So, ultimately, the goal of this device is that it should then be able to use those signals to control computer platforms wirelessly, allowing people to interact with digital interfaces essentially telepathically.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's absolutely crazy. I think that like, the suggestions of this device's capabilities are so science fiction that this is why I had a hard time believing it.
Yeah, it's very science fiction, but I think if you think about where that sort of field is at the moment, like, of course that's what they're trying to do. And if they can get a way to read what's going on your face, which they obviously can, and they can program it, they can use machine learning to learn what you mean by the outcome of that.
Yeah, this is exactly what I thought we should talk about. But, okay, so just to give our listeners a little bit of background context before we have a bit of a discussion about why this should be a thing and the repercussions of that or whatnot. So this device is called AlterEgo. You wear it on your face. It's hooked around your ear and strapped to your jaw and chin. It's quite an ugly device, isn't it? Have you seen the video?
No, I've seen pictures.
So it's quite obvious on your face, or at least the prototype that they've developed is.
For now.
And it works through 4 different electrodes, which are in contact with the skin, and they pick up apparently subtle neuromuscular signals that are triggered when you vocalize internally. There's a video demo that shows it in action, and it shows a guy controlling this sort of Netflix-esque interface, saying up, down, left, right inside of his head, and the screen is corresponding accordingly. It also shows him at the supermarket adding up the total cost of groceries he's picking up off the shelves. So then once you reach the cashier, it says like, $10.57 or something. It's like, oh, good. Yeah. That's how much. Yeah. If that wasn't cool enough, apparently it also communicates back to you through bone conduction on the ear. So you don't have to wear an earphone or an earplug or anything like that. It just communicates with you by vibrating the bones in your ear.
Wow, that's so crazy.
So this is one of its benefits. It's a very intimate system. It's really private. Other people can't hear your internal thoughts, obviously, and they can't hear how your device is communicating back to you. So I looked into this, and there is some evidence to support it. There's a study that's shown the device manages about 92% transcription accuracy. So I think this is basically people are strapped up to the device, they think certain words, and then the computer tries to read them and it gets it right 92 times out of 100.
Well, I think that's amazing. Like, using Siri, it's rubbish.
This is exactly my point, right? I thought 92% was really impressive until I heard apparently Alexa has 95% plus accuracy.
But she wouldn't for me.
But yeah, your voice is very unique.
Exactly. But, okay, so would the brain thing be unique to me, though, in that it's only communicating with me? Like, it's only got to pick up and recognize my voice, well, my internal voice.
Yeah, it would have to be trained for the specific user, wouldn't it? Because we must all have different... Well, maybe we don't.
Different little signals. I think we must.
Just like we have different tones and volumes of voice or whatnot, perhaps we do have there are differences in the subtleties of our neuromuscular signals.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's not true. Maybe it's literally a physical difference in like how your vocal instruments are built. And the way that we think is exactly is uniform, but I don't think that sounds very true. Like, does the same transmitters and signals get released in your brain when you think up and when I think up?
Yeah, exactly. It's an interesting question, and I really don't know. I don't know anything about this sort of level of neurology. It is. I don't know. I mean, I really like the sound of this device, and I definitely want it to be a thing. And I will wear that ugly thing on my face. I don't even care. Like, it seems like the applications for this are incredible, and it seems like an obvious step forward. Like, it feels this, but honestly, this does feel to me like it is beyond cutting edge. Reading internal monologues, using your thoughts, and then manipulating the environment around you. Like, it's crazy.
Well, that's what the human body's been doing for millennia, though.
Yeah, the human body can, but I mean, are we really at that point where we can actually replicate the human body? You know, the functions that the human body has, the human brain. It seems, I still feel like although we have achieved so much in terms of technology and science, like, the brain is still so beyond our understanding, right? Like, we don't even really know what dreams are, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to sort of preface this, and because I don't want to get too carried away. Like, a lot of outlets have reported this, The Guardian, Forbes, and The Verge, and all that. But it just seems to be too good to be true. I can't believe this isn't huge news. It feels like a massive breakthrough.
Yeah.
Being able to read your internal thoughts. It's got a bit of the Coney 2012s about it. I'm a bit skeptical.
What does it do with your internal thoughts, though?
Yeah, is that going to be data that Facebook can then use to influence our...
How does it know when a thought is meant to be part of a calculation in a shop?
Mm-hmm.
So if you went on Supermarket Sweep, you don't want your computer to be adding everything up necessarily, because it's not just about the price, it's about the big banana.
Yeah. Yeah, rubbish for supermarket sweep, this.
Yeah. Or do you have to look at the price tag and then think, right, yeah, add that on. Add £3.20 on.
I don't know. I don't think that the researchers at MIT were thinking of its applications in supermarket sweep.
They've probably never seen it. They're uncultured swines. Yeah, but
Cultured.
What I'm saying is there is an infinite number of ways in your internal monologue to preface even the simplest calculation.
Yeah.
There's a million ways you can come about thinking about the simplest thought, even if it literally is something like add this number to this. And do you have to think a very specific pattern? In which case, I think it's about as far as we are with voice recognition. It's just doing it on a different measurement scale.
Like brain signals are just like any other electrical signal, right?
Exactly.
We just need to find some way of intercepting them and then train algorithms to interpret those signals.
Yeah, so I don't know how good the algorithm is. But, Siri's pretty good. Like,
it's all right.
It does its best.
I don't think we're there yet with voice-controlled interfaces.
Yeah.
I think that we have obviously moved forward, but I still think that they are slower than typing, I find. The only time I ever really use it is set a timer.
Oh my God, that's exactly when I use it.
That's all I use it for. I like set timer 20 minutes and then it will do that. But I never use it for anything else. I never use it to Google anything or anything like that. I'm quite happy to type it myself. Mm-hmm. I feel like predictive text and stuff is so much better. Although that still has its flaws. Yeah,
it has its flaws, but I would say more than 92% accuracy.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, people just remember the glaring way when it doesn't work. But I think it's usually pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so do I. It's I'd rather have it than not have it. Essentially, if we can do this from measuring like the muscles in the face or interpreting those signals, then that seems like the obvious route. But I don't know how accurate that is. I don't know anything about that, and I'm not going to pretend to. But it still seems like this sort of technology is the logical step forward. And if we have to go like a little further, then perhaps it's instead like integrating some sort of chip internally that then connects to some sort of hub or modem in your smart home. And you should then, in theory, be able to use that to connect your thoughts and control devices in your home, right? Like,
have a perfect record of everything you've ever thought.
Yeah, it's so Black Mirror.
It's very Black Mirror. The whole thing is very Black Mirror.
Yeah. So these guys are saying you can do it with muscles in the face, and that's why this is so interesting. But I feel like if this really is the next step forward, then and we have to put a microchip in your brain to read this, then there's still a way to do this, and there's still a way that this is going to happen, right? This
Absolutely,
is clearly the way forward.
I don't know whether it's going to happen.
Do you not think so? I think that this is definitely... Imagine being able to connect to the internet instantly in your head and find...
I think we're talking about thousands of years before enough of a population of people will be able to get this technology. I don't think it'll be a technology solution for everybody in some dystopian future for thousands of years.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Okay.
How many people have even got Google Glasses?
No. Okay. So I went to a talk a little while back. It was quite an intimate affair in a pub in London. And it was with an AI specialist from London Imperial.
Yeah.
And he was basically talking about the genuine fears of AI getting so advanced that it eventually subjugates humans and, what we can do to stop this. And it was essentially like, we can't do anything, basically. But he also talks about how we are essentially destined to integrate with computers. Mm-hmm. And some of the audience were really skeptical of this. And they were like, what are you talking about? We're not going to be putting chips in our heads, becoming these cyborg machines. But another guy, just an audience member, pointed out that we are genuinely already on this trajectory. We all carry around personal computers in our pockets, the majority of us 24/7, that we use to inform our decision-making every single day. We essentially have already integrated with computers.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't think we are that far from not having to carry that around in our pockets, not having to use our fingers to, manipulate it, if you will. Like, it is essentially the next logical step.
I still think there's a cost of the procedure that would get in the way. I think it could like massively stratify society. The fact is, we can all pick up a mobile phone. I could give a mobile phone to, I don't know, like somebody in a tribe in the Amazon. They might not be able to use it, but I could give it to them. I could give every person on earth a mobile phone. And that's what companies have done, basically, yeah?
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know that it's as easy to do that with a chip in your brain.
Well, not
And then
currently.
I think it's a dystopian future, because who's going to do that if it's not a massive corporation?
Well, I think it might be a massive corporation.
Well, there
I
we
don't
are.
know, but I don't think we're thousands of years away from this.
Okay,
I don't
we'll
think
see.
I don't. Well, we might. We won't if we're thousands of years away. I just think that.
Well, people will be reading my thoughts.
Well, this is the thing. Like, this could make interrogation procedures incredibly easy, right? And this would have.
Well, no, it wouldn't, because this only reads what you literally think. Yeah, this reads your internal monologue. It doesn't read your internal monologue.
Yeah. But if I ask you this question, who do you do a podcast with?
Yeah.
Are you able to not think of my name?
I'm able to not articulate it in my internal monologue.
Okay.
It wouldn't be recorded in my facial features. Like, I have to think the words, I think. For it
It might be in your brain, though. It might be in your brain. I reckon you could extract a thought from somebody.
But I don't think that's what this device does.
No, I don't.
What this device does is what I've just said, where if I thought Harvey, it would know that I was talking about you. Maybe it could phone you. Maybe it could, I don't know, tell me what you're playing on your internal monologue.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't know just from me thinking, but not articulating it within my own internal monologue, that I wanted to do anything with that information.
Mm-hmm. No, you're absolutely right. You are right there. And that is, I think, what this device is claiming to be able to do.
Yeah.
I would like to see how the tech community responds to this, because it does feel like this device would be very, very popular.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some ethical considerations, obviously, but it does feel like the applications for this, even just looking at busy, noisy workplaces, it would be really handy to be able to use, control things with your internal voice. And also, obviously people with disabilities who are no longer able to speak.
Yeah.
Like, it would be incredibly liberating for them. So it seems like this is amazing technology. I just don't know. I just don't know enough about these signals in the face to know if this is actually viable or not.
Well, 92%, it works 92% of the time.
I don't know how many people were in that study. And also, I don't know how that was measured. I don't know whether that was, so say there was a very limited vocabulary of 10 words or something.
Yeah,
they said,
true.
think of this word. And then it
Well, no,
picks
they
it up.
did it in the supermarket example. Was that not a real trial?
I think that's a demo. I think that is showcasing the potential capabilities of this technology. The only thing that it's shown so far is that it can interpret facial signals to identify certain words. Mm-hmm. I don't think it has shown actual applications of that yet. Just going back to my example of the chip in the brain.
Yeah.
Would you have a chip put in your brain so that you could achieve telepathy, maybe even telekinesis, moving things with your mind, access information from the internet instantly in your head, make yourself appear a lot smarter than you actually are? Would you do it?
I don't think our brains are built that way.
What do you mean?
I think it would only be able to have a very limited interface, because I don't think that we could access all of the information from the internet. Or we could find the information that we needed and be able to, read it, like get it in our internal monologue. It's been given to us, and then say it, process what it's saying, and then say it.
Yeah, we might still need to see it on a display.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of when you actually do that in your brain.
Yeah, it's very difficult to actually visualize.
Like when you ever just think in your brain and figure something out.
Well, I guess
without
when
using your internal monologue.
When you stumble on a word and you're looking for a word, and sometimes you're thinking like, oh, what is that word?
Yeah.
I guess then that's when you would, I don't know.
You'd be on dictionary.com, synonyms.
Yeah, exactly. That would be so useful.
Yeah, but I think it could do that, and I think you can get Siri to do that.
Yeah. I think I would certainly look into this.
Maybe our social bonds will just change.
Go on.
So that we're more in tune with how a computer thinks. Maybe we'll meet in the middle. Instead of a computer understanding how a human brain works, the way that we think will just become more like a computer.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you could argue that's already happened.
I think this is exactly what this guy in this talk that I went to was talking about. Like, we are on this trajectory. We are integrating with computers. They're informing more and more of our decisions day to day. And where do we stop now? At what point do we say, like, no, that's enough? That's enough of computers informing what we're doing. How long do we travel down this road until, I don't know, by current definitions, till we're no longer human?
Yeah, exactly. So I've just been thinking, like, if I gave my nan my phone and asked her something, she would not know how to interact with it in the right way to access that information. Mm-hmm. Like she wouldn't know that what you have to do is just go to Google, type in the keywords of the question, or even the literal question, and read the responses until you find the right answer. Yeah. But she arguably is much better than a lot of my friends at interpersonal things, going and talking to, finding information out from somebody who works in a shop or something. Like, I am more fearful of going up and asking what the latest, hot book is or whatever, whereas she would just go and ask. I would get that information from a computer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scary.
It is scary. It is weird. And it's, I don't know, even looking at how technology, we already see sort of bionic limbs and stuff. I don't know, but I feel like we're getting a little bit ridiculous here, but even some people who don't have, they've amputees or whatnot, are now having limbs attached that they can then control with their, I don't know, with their brain signals or whatnot.
I think that's all right.
I do too, obviously. But if technology is able to do this, replace our limbs, improve the way that we come up with ideas or make decisions and all sorts of stuff like that, what if it eventually gets to a point where it extends our lifespan, something that we have been doing for a long time now? I don't know, eventually it feels like we're going from human to cyborg, and you could argue that we're, in the cyborg stage already. Eventually we'll be like full-blown robots, right?
That's fine then, isn't it? That's better.
I do think it's better, but it feels so Doctor Who.
Well, feels so evolution to me.
So, we are going to do a film review this week. At the time of recording, quite a lot of people are talking about this movie. It's called Annihilation.
None of my friends are.
Are they not?
No.
I've seen quite a few people talking about it, a lot of people interested in it. It's a new movie by Alex Garland, who directed Ex Machina, which is one of my favourite films of all time. So I was more than up for watching this film. So I watched it when I was back at home over Easter. And whilst watching it, I thought Adam and I should talk about this on the podcast. Because it's a bit sciencey. Yeah. And I thought we could have some good discussion about it. So I think you watched it a couple of nights ago. So it's fairly fresh in your mind. And whilst you were watching it, obviously you were able to take some notes as well, thinking, we're going to talk about this, because I'd already said, watch it, let's talk about it.
Well, I didn't, but...
All right, fine. But, it was on your mind. When I was watching it, I was just thinking, I'm just going to enjoy this. But I feel like you might...
Yeah, definitely.
If you are planning on seeing this movie, then please do pause the podcast here and return to it once you've seen it. It's on Netflix in the UK. It got a Netflix launch. It wasn't in the cinemas over here. It is in America, I believe. But so yeah, you don't really have an excuse not to watch it, really, if you're interested. So it starts out, and we have Natalie Portman, who is being interviewed or debriefed by a guy in a hazmat suit. She's just returned from the Shimmer, which is this mysterious region that's growing in an area of swampland in America. Mm-hmm. So Natalie Portman is one member of a group of operatives who volunteered to enter the Shimmer to work out what it is, what's going on. Her husband is, at this point, the only person who has returned from a previous expedition, and he emerges very confused. He gets incredibly ill, and then he's put in a coma or whatnot. So I thought this was quite a cool setup. I was enjoying the movie at this point. I was thinking, I want to know what's going on. How did you feel at this point?
Yeah, I thought the setup was fine.
Yeah?
It's just what they did with it.
All right. Okay. All right. So one of the early scenes that sticks out in my memory of the movie is the team all wake up. They have no memory. They've been in the Shimmer for several days, apparently, but they don't remember it. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit Blair Witch Project-ish. Sort of compasses aren't working. They don't know where they are. The only option they've got is to keep going forwards to find this lighthouse, which is apparently where the Shimmer began.
Well, I think actually what they do is they use the sun's position in the sky to determine which direction they've got to go to, which, so far, they're getting the science right.
Yeah. So they eventually come across this sort of partially submerged house, which is decorated with all of these different flowers, but it looks like they're all part of the same plant. So it's odd, like there's something going on. Then they are attacked by an albino alligator that, after a brief altercation, appears to have multiple rows of teeth. Mm-hmm. And the biologist of the team points out that this is a feature of sharks.
Yeah.
So the decision here is that the alligator has hybridized with a shark. And that's that.
You know what?
What?
Even at this point, I was like, I can let that go. I can think that she's just stupid, and obviously it's just convergent evolution.
Yeah. I think this was probably the first of quite a few moments in the movie where I felt like Alex Garland was really using his creative license with genetics.
Yeah.
Like I thought, okay. So
but I didn't think this is absurd. This is beyond the realms of what is going to be explained within this movie.
I guess not.
I like a lot of sci-fi. I don't mind a creature. I'm fine with like there being a monster, but I want it to be part of the film or the TV show's central narrative. Like it's there because of a reason, not, oh, it's there and we're going to explain this with science that makes no sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like the movie was going for scientific authenticity.
Well,
or accuracy.
We'll see. I have things to say about that.
I thought it was just trying to be an entertaining movie that was maybe a little bit smarter than your average blockbuster.
And it was scary. It was like literally a little bit frightening because you couldn't see the alligator at first. It got revealed and you were like, okay, so what is that? Like it built the tension. I think it was a good piece of little bit of film, yeah.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that she was stood in the doorway, wasn't she? And then she was like pulled out by this alligator thing, but we didn't know it was an alligator at that point. She was just grabbed by a backpack or something, taken into the water. I don't know. Like that annoyed me more than the genetics thing because it's like if that alligator got hold of you, it was huge. That you're dead, right? That's going to death roll you. You're going to be dead. Nobody's going to be swimming in after you, pulling you out. It
might not be death rolling you.
Like, why not?
Because it's got convergent. It's hybridized with a bloody shark, Harvey. Do sharks death roll?
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't considered that.
You've got to think about the hybridization. Like, I was still with it at this point. I was like, yeah, okay, so it's a crocodile not doing crocodile-y things.
I was still with it. Like, this didn't really jar me too much. It was just a moment where I was like, okay, like let's see how this goes.
And I do feel eased into it with the flowers, yeah?
Yeah, and I liked that. I liked that bit with the flowers. We'll talk about flowers in a little bit.
Well, it's the same thing.
Kind of. But
it's okay, so this plant is, it's doing things that this plant shouldn't do. It's expressing different things that this plant shouldn't behave like this. It shouldn't make this flower. Just like this crocodile shouldn't have rows and rows of teeth and shouldn't have the behavioural adaptations of being at killing things.
Okay, all right, fine. But there was another scene a little bit later where I sort of felt the same feeling of, I don't know, creative license with genetics.
I think I know which scene you're referring to.
It was the human-shaped flower shrub things.
Yes, exactly. I have written this down.
And these were explained as plants with human Hox genes in them.
Yeah, I hated it. I feel like the science consultant in this was either not present or just throwing out words that didn't make sense, right? The further I get on in my scientific career, the more that I realise that actually this is a person like me who could have been hired for this job. And I think I would have done a better job of it. I'm just going to say it.
I do think that this could have been explained a little bit better. I don't know. I think it's a really cool idea, and the visuals of these human-shaped shrubs, I really did like how it looked and everything, but I don't know, it just made me feel a little bit like, that's not quite how Hox genes works, is it?
Yeah, and the fact that she just walked up to him and she was like, oh, yeah, if you looked inside them, if you sequence them, you'd find human Hox genes.
Yeah.
Well, I've yet to see any evidence of that.
Yeah.
Like, you're just randomly guessing. And you're guessing something that doesn't even make sense.
I feel like we could pick holes in the science all day long here, but I don't know, this just felt a little bit lazy.
Well, it's straight after then where she has a more scientific explanation. I wrote down the exact quote.
Go on.
So this isn't the biologist. She's a physicist, is she? The young girl?
Oh, the one who turns into a plant.
The one who turns into a plant, yeah. Yes. She says, the shimmer is a prism, but it refracts everything. Not just light and radio waves, animal DNA, plant DNA, all DNA. What do you mean it refracts DNA?
Yeah, I don't know, because DNA isn't a wave, is it?
No, of course it's not a wave. What are you talking about?
This is the thing, like
DNA. It's just nonsense. That's what I wrote down. My first note about this film is it's nonsense.
It is nonsense. It is nonsense. I'm not going to be that outraged about this because it is nonsense, and I recognise that, and the science is wrong and all over the place, and that is okay for me.
The person I watched it with Googled refracted DNA, not a biologist, because it was just delivered with such a matter of fact, which I guess it has to be within the context of the film. But that he thought, okay, like, I don't understand this part. What is DNA refraction? Why does DNA refraction do this? I think, they could have chosen something more based in science to get people interested in that.
Yeah, I think it would have been nicer to understand how the DNA, because the suggestion is that DNA is being transferred from one organism to another, and that's how the shark had the extra layers of teeth. That's how these plants have got these human Hox genes. That's how the other plant on the house was covered in all different flowers.
That's why the man has a worm, like all worm insides when they cut him open.
That was a horrible scene as well.
Yeah, that was disgusting.
But the visual, when they see that man later in the swimming pool, and he's got all the fungus growing out of him and stuff.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful.
Like amazing body horror visuals. I haven't seen a movie do visuals like that for a long time. And I have to say, for all the flaws that this movie has, it looked wonderful.
It does. Really did. I think it is a bit style over substance.
Yes, I think so, to a point.
But, very good style. I would encourage people to watch it, even though I didn't enjoy it as much as I could have. But anyway, let's continue. Okay, so after this, eventually, like, the team members all start to get picked off, don't they, by all sorts of things. Yeah.
One of them by something that I thought was done really, really, really well was this creature, the bear, that had a human scream.
I thought it was a bear.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
That was really, really scary. And the fact that it had, like, the voice of one of the operatives, I can't remember what her name was. Apparently that's because it ate her voice box, didn't it? It ate, like, her throat, and you see her body.
Being refracted.
Yeah, something like that. And her final moments have projected into this bear. But I don't know whether, like, the suggestion is that that's just her voice, or actually if she's still slightly in there.
Yeah, I think she's in there.
I think she might be in there, yeah, like screaming. I don't know. It was a really, really cool, scary, chilling creature. Yeah. And that scene in the house where it's sniffing the team members, it was so well done. You like that then?
Yeah, I liked it. It was, yeah.
Yeah?
I guess we should have prefaced this whole thing by saying I don't really like films.
You hate films, yeah.
So it had already lost me at this point. But yeah, I can understand objectively why it was good.
Okay. All right, let's move on. And I think this is a bit where we are going to disagree.
Okay.
Massively. So we're getting towards the end of the movie now, and Natalie Portman makes her way to the coast. She arrives at the lighthouse where she discovers Like, there's all these skeletons outside. I didn't know what that represented, really. I couldn't work that out. But then actually inside the lighthouse, there's a charred skeleton with a movie camera in front of it. And she watches a clip on the camera and sees her husband, Kane, talking to somebody off camera before he kills himself with a white phosphorus grenade.
Okay.
And then a few moments later, another Kane steps into shot. And then the suggestion is that this is the Kane that returned from the Shimmer, like a doppelganger of Kane.
Yeah.
What I loved about this scene, and I did love this, and it's something I noticed at the time, it couldn't work out until I did a little bit of research. The Kane who kills himself has like a southern United States accent, which is something that he didn't have at the beginning of the movie. And I thought, that's really weird. Why does he sound like that? Mm-hmm. But then I think the suggestion is that he picked this accent up from one of the other members in his group, and they all gradually became more like one another and less like themselves due to this refracted DNA prism effect or whatever. Like their personality, it wasn't just their DNA being exchanged, it was also like their personality and their features. And you also see this in a tattoo that Natalie Portman has.
Yeah, I noticed the tattoo.
The tattoo is on the soldier that gets cut up in the gruesome pool scene. And he's also on, I think, some of the other women as well, this tattoo.
It's like a 6, isn't it?
It's an 8. It's actually it's a snake eating its own tail, which is, I think it's called an Ouroboros or something. I don't know. I've probably absolutely butchered that, but I think it's a very famous symbol. So I actually really liked those sort of subtle hints in retrospect, like just showing how they're all becoming less like each themselves and more like one another.
But then, so Natalie Portman also gets a doppelganger, doesn't she?
Yes. So we have...
So is the suggestion that she would... Does the doppelganger have the tattoo?
I don't know. This is really interesting. This is where like the movie got really, really interesting. And actually, I thought up until this point it had been a bit slow, and other than looking good, I wasn't that impressed. But once she enters the lighthouse, I actually would say this is I enjoyed this part of the movie. And
Worst part of the movie.
We basically have, I knew you'd think this, we basically have this altercation with the leader of the team who's in a black hole in the ground inside the lighthouse, and she dies and it creates this void thing that absorbs a drop of Natalie Portman's blood. I'm not sure where the blood came from.
Hang on.
Go on.
I missed all of this.
What?
So Dr. Ventress is her name.
Yeah, that's her name, yeah.
She has an altercation with her in the basement of the lighthouse, and that's what causes the
doppelganger
void.
Yeah.
Okay.
How did you miss that?
Maybe I didn't miss it at the time, but I completely forgot about it. This is what I wrote down about Dr. Ventress. Firstly, why is she leading the group?
I don't know. Maybe
she's a psychologist. Why does she have the requisite skills? I'm not saying that psychologists can't. I'm just saying of all the people you're going to send in, they seem to have like randomly chosen people.
Yeah, that is true. Were they all ex-military?
She might be involved in the military, but I still don't think she's,
It felt to me like Natalie Portman was the only one who was good with a gun.
Yeah. The psychologist woman, Dr. Ventress, like, my nan would say she's as flat as a witch's tit. Like, throughout, you got nothing from her. And then I genuinely didn't notice her die. Like, this is what I wrote down. What happened to her? Like, I was expecting you to say that she was just back at the asking the tree people fill in a questionnaire. See how they feel. Like, I genuinely didn't know what happened to her.
No, she was in the hole in the ground in the lighthouse, and then she did a sort of talk, and she talked about how eventually the Shimmer was going to cover the entire world and it was going to destroy everything or something. I think she said total annihilation or something like that, and then she sort of erupted into this void thing that sucked up a drop of.
Are
Natalie
you sure
Portman's blood.
That was ever the real woman, though?
No.
I don't think it was the real woman. I think she died before that. But I can't remember it happening.
She disappeared.
Yeah, exactly. She disappeared.
I don't know where she went on, didn't she? Because she left them. She was like, I'm just going to head onwards to some, I don't know, like in the middle of the night or something, because she was keen to get there. I don't know.
Okay, so it did happen, but my brain had already been turned to mush by the rest of this film, obviously.
This void thing creates this human doppelganger creature that starts to mimic Natalie Portman's moves.
Can we talk about the creation of the doppelganger first?
Yeah.
So how it happens, you might remember, Natalie Portman starts bleeding, not out of her eye, but just like, from near her eye, like the upper inner eye socket, the upper nose, just like from a random place.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of droplets of blood like float to the air towards the void, as you've called it. They then merge into one droplet, and you zoom in, and it's one blood cell dividing.
Yeah.
What the hell was that supposed to be? Where was the science consultant? That isn't science.
Yeah, but I don't know, maybe it could extract her DNA from the environment. I don't know.
And then from a blood cell, it turns into this silver, featureless, humanoid creature.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why it's turned silver, because it was a drop of blood before. And then it's Natalie Portman.
Well, we then have this sequence where it's mimicking her, and it's like a mirror copy of her, but it's a little bit behind her at first, and then it joins up in synchrony. She tries to escape, it sort of traps her, then it collapses. I don't know, they eventually become the same thing. It morphs into her face, which I thought was a really creepy thing. I really liked this bit. I thought this bit was really cool. It was really unique and imaginative.
Was it unique?
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that before.
Doctor Who season 4, episode Midnight, 10, I think.
Yeah, I did think about Midnight a little bit.
And I think it's a trope. I think it's been done many times before.
I really liked it.
The doppelganger fighting the hero trope.
But I thought she, I don't know. There was no, I don't know, there was the suggestion that the doppelganger was malevolent and that it was trying to, I don't know what it was trying to do. It didn't seem like it was trying to replace her or anything like that. I don't know. It didn't, I loved the openness of this, like what you could interpret it as. It just felt really, really creepy. And the soundtrack as well got really good, I thought, whilst this was happening.
So Natalie Portman, in the end, though, she says, I don't think it's malevolent. I just think it was, living, whatever.
Yeah.
But by that point, she's already it.
Well, I don't know.
Or she's already been transformed enough by it that its thoughts have also become her thoughts in the same way that, the people became more like each other.
Well, she burns... Basically, they have a couple of fights, don't they? And then, she collapses, she wakes up. I don't know. I think there are intentionally areas where you don't know, moments that we don't know what's happened, so that maybe they've switched positions or something. We don't know who's who anymore. But then we have this burning down of the lighthouse where the doppelganger, it appears, is burned because it looks like it reverts back to its silver thing, but who knows whether that's actually Natalie Portman or not.
Well, that's just exactly like, a crocodile appears like it's got shark teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't the Natalie Portman that went in.
No. But she returns from the Shimmer and she has her debrief. And the Shimmer is destroyed, isn't it, at this point? Everything is set on fire.
Why did it not get destroyed when the man blew himself up? Her husband blew himself up.
Yeah, I don't know, because the lighthouse wasn't burnt down. I don't know. I didn't understand this bit. But basically, she's returned and her husband recovers and they reconcile in the hospital room. And she says, "You're not Kane, are you?" Yeah. And he says, "I don't think so." Oh, I love that. I think that's so chilling.
Actually, I've just thought, if a fire managed to destroy it, then surely it would have been destroyed as it entered the atmosphere.
What do you mean? Did it enter the atmosphere?
It came down on a comet or an asteroid or something, didn't it?
Did it?
The lighthouse got hit by an asteroid or a comet.
Did it?
Yes, it did.
I don't remember this.
Well, it did. At the very, I don't know, when Ventress is telling Natalie Portman what happens when she first arrives at the facility.
Yeah.
They look over at the Shimmer and you see the flashback of, I don't know, or maybe you see it in a pre-credit scene, you see the asteroid falling. I know that happened.
I feel like we're splitting hairs if you're saying it would have died in the atmosphere when it came in.
Well,
the inside of a comet wouldn't, or a meteorite wouldn't have burnt up. It could have been
on the inside.
Well, it could have been.
Could have been, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I did love the last bit of the movie. I thought it was really good. I thought it was really well done. I wasn't, when I finished it, I wasn't great movie. I was a bit like, I want to talk about this a little bit. I want to find out a little bit more.
To be honest, talking to you has made me like this movie more.
Thinking about it made me like the movie more. At the time, I was thinking, I don't know if I would recommend this.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, it was a good experience. And it was a new movie. It wasn't like a rehash of same themes. It felt like it was trying to do, like, break new ground. And I respect that always in a movie.
Mm-hmm. I guess it depends what you want from a film. Like, I don't need to think about Rugrats in Paris.
No, you like that though, don't you?
It's my favourite film.
I think we should grade the movie out of 10.
Out of 10?
I like to do that. I like to grade things out of 10. Go on, give me your grade first.
So I think it's changed now that I've spoken to you a little bit about it. I think that I've appreciated the ending as something more clever now.
Okay.
So I'm going to give it a 6.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good rating.
Before, I would have given it like a 3.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I would.
I'm that convincing, that compelling.
Well, I think if I watched it again,
I don't
feel comfortable enough with the material to say that it was as bad as I thought it was when I started talking.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I am going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Because I think it was really unique. As I say, I think it was doing things that I haven't seen movies do before. I thought it was absolutely beautiful and it was thought-provoking. And so, that's all I really look for in a just a movie that I'm just trying to enjoy. It wasn't, it was no Ex Machina. Have you seen Ex Machina?
No, I've not seen Ex Machina.
I would 100% recommend that. I think you will really enjoy that. And that was his debut, and that's very, very good.
Okay.
I would say, go as far to say that's my favourite science fiction movie ever made, actually. Oh. So, yeah, I don't want you to know anything about it either going in, because you should know nothing, but it's essentially about AI. That's all you need to know.
Okay. Well, it'll take me a while to recover from watching a film. So give me a few weeks.
Okay. All right. I will. Did you enjoy that review though?
Yeah, I thought it was a nice little review.
Yeah, so did I. I would like to know what other people thought. I'd like to know other people's interpretations, whether they disagree. I know, some people thought it was absolutely rubbish and other people are really singing its praises. So I don't know. I just thought it was good. It was a good movie. It wasn't amazing though.
Yeah, I get to choose the movie next time.
Will it be Annie?
It'll be Rugrats in Paris.